mainly maybe because society and your parents, people, friends, culture has told them that the way to do it is to go to school, get a job, have a job while you're going to school. And most people choose retail. Most people choose restaurant business. But Kyle went to wholesaling.
Yeah.
Kyle went to wholesaling. He learned at 16, 21. He did 12 deals. That's crazy. Somewhere between 3,000 and you said
3,000 to 22,000.
To $22,000.
That was only one of them, though.
Okay.
Only one of them.
But still, dude. I mean, can you imagine making one phone call? The sales cycle is what? Maybe a month. Excited, man.
I'm excited too.
I am excited. This has been long coming, especially for me. Today I've got Kyle Allen, dude. I love Kyle so much. Sincerely, he's like a brother to me now. He's done so much in his life by his age, and it's just amazing to be surrounded in this network of people here in Phoenix that are just absolute game changers. People that want to achieve like world-class success and something that's bigger than them, and they have a vision and a mission that's larger than them. So that's why I want to bring people on here to kind of show you guys how they got started, what their process is on a daily basis, who they're going after, and like kind of like what they're doing and stuff. So thank you, Kyle, so much sincerely for being on here, man.
Perfect, dude. I really appreciate you for having me on the podcast, and super excited to have a conversation with you and try to help as many people that are listening to this podcast right now too.
Dude, so if you were to go back, this is the first question I always ask. Kyle's in real estate. If you've not seen Kyle, follow him below. Someone, again, I look up to. So Kyle, like, tell him a little bit about how you got started, maybe how many deals you've done, what's the first way you got started into real estate, wholesaling, single family homes, the whole wrap.
Okay. Yeah, so I started out basically 16 years old. So I had like a job at the time. I was umpiring before that. So just literally like getting yelled at by parents and all that good stuff. But it was good money. I do it on the weekends, and I do it on some weekend like days in the evenings. So I was making some money, and I was like, okay, cool. I now have a car. I can do other things, and I can go have other jobs. So one of my buddies was passing out signs and flyers, and he was making a ton of money doing it. And all he was doing was just working the weekends.
Really?
And I was like, okay, cool. Like I should try to like ask him if I can get a job with him. So got a job at this company called Open House Helpers. And basically what the job was to just put out these open house signs.
And this is where? What city?
This is here in Phoenix. So I grew up in Chandler, Arizona, middle-class family. I would say upper middle-class family, to be honest with you. But my parents always taught me hard work was really the biggest thing in anything.
Amazing.
We would do like lawn services on the weekend, anything to just do money, right? When I was like getting started. And so what I started doing was I started putting out these signs eventually. And I always wanted to like kind of network with people, and I think that's one of the biggest things with any job that you have. Even though I was literally just putting out signs and flyers, like bottom of the totem pole. I was trying to network with people because I knew that they were making more money than me.
And you knew that at 16 years old.
Yeah, because I was just like, all right, this person's closing this house, they get paid 3% on the house, and it's a $500,000 house. Yeah. That's a decent amount of money right there, So I started kind of talking with these people, and then I came across one guy that was an investor. So he actually fixed and flipped houses. So he would buy them. They're super ugly houses, as maybe you guys seen on like the TV shows, like Fix and Flip. And I started networking with this guy. I was like, how do you do that? Where do you get all this money from? And he just kind of told me about how to invest in real estate and if you wanted to fix and flip. I then ended up joining with him and then passing out flyers directly for him too. So instead of him like hiring this other company, he hired me directly, and I was able to start doing more things with him too. So.
And you were still 16?
Yeah, still 16. Yeah, it was maybe 16, 17, right around there. So moral of the story, like from just getting started, network, because that connection showed me so much more than what I even had any idea. So now I start getting a kind of a feel with this.
Yes.
And I asked this guy, his name is, for those of you guys who are in the Arizona market, Doug Hopkins is his name.
Okay.
So basically this guy had TV shows, radios, like everything. He was everywhere on like Fox 10, all of these basically news.
Yes.
So talking about how I can buy your house. So I started talking with this guy, ran into him one day, and he's a busy guy. I was like, Doug, how much money do you make? At the time it was like $60,000 or $70,000 a month, and I was like, dude, like my aunt who's a school teacher, no offense, who's doing a lot of work too as well, is only making that maybe a year. I was like, there's another way to like go make money in this world. So that's what kind of got me started into this passion of real estate was You know, one, I love money. I think it's an addicting thing, especially because it's a tool to go help other people.
Yeah.
You know, I believe a lot about charities and all that good stuff, but I'll stay to the point right now.
You're good.
So started kind of getting adapted to that, and you know, the normal typical route, right? Okay, go to college, right? Basically do your thing and then go get a job after. That's what my parents did, and that's what they wanted me to do.
Yes.
And I kind of knew that there was another way, especially because I was meeting all of these entrepreneurs, especially in the real estate space. If a lot of you guys don't know, it's a commission-based only job. There's no base. So you're literally living off of what you kill.
Yes.
So a lot of these guys, if they, you know, were very successful, they went hunting every single day.
Okay.
So I kind of was like opened up to that. My dad's a salesperson too, but he always had a base through his company.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Just your typical W-2 job. So I was like, okay, cool. If I have to do this, I want to get started as soon as I possibly can. So I started going down to U of A, kind of messed around for a little bit. I joined Greek Life and figured out that wasn't really for me after a while.
This is in Tucson, University of Arizona, Tucson.
Yeah, so U of A, and I was like trying to go to the business school. And so I got into the business school, and then I was like, I really want to start my own company. So what I decided to do was basically take that same idea that I was doing up here in Phoenix and do it down in Tucson, because no one else was doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I kind of have like this market potential. So started doing it down in Tucson. I basically took like the $5,000 I earned that like summer, and I threw it basically all into this
From
new
science.
company. Yeah, from science, yeah.
And then you threw it all into a new company. You said that, right?
Yeah, threw it all into a new company. My parents thought it was absolutely crazy. They're like, how are you going to pay for all of this stuff at school this next semester? I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Right? And the first month, essentially, it did not go well.
Oh, gosh. You were 18?
Yeah, so I'm like 19, almost like 18 and a half.
At this time, okay, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
so I go back down to school, and I think like everyone's going to just love this service, right? And no one was buying from it.
No one.
I just kept on going door knocking to office to office to office.
Really?
Yeah, and because like that's all I knew what to do, and then I had class throughout the day. So a lot of the times I was either doing it early in the morning or like later in the evening to go door knock. And I realized that wasn't the best time because these agents were at those locations at any of those times.
Yeah.
During the evenings, they're out showing clients' houses and stuff like that. During the mornings, they're in meetings and they're doing things that need to go for their business, so they're not willing to hear a sales pitch. So I had a hard time doing that, and then this is kind of where social media played a huge impact in my life, because I then started having to get creative. I was like, I'm not going to go fail, right? I kept on door knocking. I got a couple sales from it after a while, but it took me like 72 doors to eventually get.
You remember the number too? 72?
Yeah.
73 doors.
Because like I would take business cards. So I had like, I would basically count how many business cards I had, and then I'd start cold calling these people afterwards too. It's just anything, because I was like, dude, I spent all my money this summer on this. I need to figure out how to make some money. Plus my bills are starting to come up, you know. So started doing that. I made a couple different connections. One of my first sales was actually probably one of the best connections I ever made my whole entire life. Basically, this guy brought me in and taught me everything about real estate, about how to actually do it, not just being the sign guy.
Yeah.
So I was able to then go to like different mastermind events. I was then running all of his social media, because he started seeing my progression. So started out just doing the signs with him, and then eventually he kept on seeing kind of, I was willing to go learn new things too. And I think that's a big thing that like has been just in my whole entire life. I've always wanted to go learn more, right? Because I think there's always like something that's undiscovered.
Yes.
I'm like, I need to go find it, right? So started kind of looking at that, and I was like, okay, cool. So he started showing me, you know, how to fix and flip and how to buy rental properties. He did about 100 a year fix and flips. So good got to be around, right? Yeah, and then he was also doing, you know, he had a portfolio of about 100 properties.
Wow.
So, and then he built that up to about like 200 by the time I left. So he was actively buying a lot of houses. So it was around a really good network. And at this time, he saw how much I was using social media, and I grew that sign business up. So he's like, dude, like obviously, you know how to grow a business. Like, why are you playing small? Right? Like, why are you playing just? And I think that's an important question. I still ask myself that every day. It's kind of like the Grant Cardone thing.
Yeah.
Like, why are you playing small? Like, you could be doing this at a higher level, because I was only making, you know, like on each package, like $97 to like, you know, $155 per package.
Oh, wow.
And this is manual labor that you're having to go do. So then I started scaling that business up. I had employees, and this is what like the camel that broke my back on that one, like that business model. It was not dependent on really reliable people. And I think that was just my mistake. I was young. I was trying to hire anyone who wanted to come into the business.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like really vetting through and like making sure they fit the company culture, the values, and all that good stuff. So the weekend we like booked up like 25 jobs or something like that. And basically I had 4 people that were supposed to go out that weekend. Saturday morning, what I was going to go do was just go drive around and go check out all the signs, right? That was kind of my job, like overseeing management now. And no one set up any of the signs.
No one, 0 people?
Yeah.
And,
so,
they would still get paid though?
So they weren't going to get paid on those jobs. They didn't show
Okay.
up because obviously they didn't perform the
Right.
work, you know, and all of my people at that rate, they weren't W-2 employees, didn't have the capital to do that, so they were independent contractors. I hired as a W-9. For those of you guys who just don't know the difference, W-2 I have to just pay a bunch of taxes for. W-9 essentially they pay their own taxes. So a great way if you're getting started to like bring people on and pay them instead of bringing them like really on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no one showed up and I was freaking out. I had clients calling me up like, where are my signs at? All this good stuff, and I'm like, there's no way I can complete all these jobs by myself. So I try to take care of the most important customers, people who had like monthly business with me, not just like maybe a one-off or something like that. And then I had to give all these refunds back, which sucks because then you're like, okay, well, you know, I spent time trying to put this up and I was showing up late on these jobs too as well. So I had to even give partial refunds too on some of them. And I was just like,
wow.
dude, this is so much work. And, you know, at the time I was doing some social media stuff too. So I was like, I had the agency model. I started building up, working with different real estate professionals, helping them just generate leads and grow their CRM systems, like Google Ads, Facebook, for some of you guys who are familiar with the agency model. And this was my value proposition. I just wanted to learn more, right? So I figured, how do I get closer to the deals, right? That was like my biggest thing. It didn't matter, whatever it was how do I get closer to the next step? So then at that point, Sunday, I did all of the jobs by myself. And I woke up at like 3 in the morning, didn't finish until like 8 or 9 at night.
Wow.
I just was like, this fucking sucks.
8 or 9 at night.
Yeah. So it was a horrible experience, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's not a sustainable business. So what I decided to do the next day, I went to my storage locker that my employees would come in and out of. I grabbed all the signs, threw them in my car, and I have a picture where I threw them all in the dumpster after.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was making more money at the time doing social media. I knew if I just dove all into it, I would make more money. And my dad was like, no, you shouldn't do that. You should really keep it. It's another cash flow, right? You know, name of the game is cash flow. It's another cash flow system for you. And I was like, no, I don't care. Like, this is not worth my time anymore. I need to focus on bigger things. So this is where I started the agency model. And now instead of me making, you know, a couple $100 off of a client every single month, I'm selling packages for $1,000, $2,000, up to $5,000 a month to use my services to run Facebook, Google, build out websites, CRM systems.
For less manual labor.
For way less manual labor. I just got really good on the computer instead.
And 10 times your income.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I started growing that really fast. And I got to a point where I was helping a lot of people and getting a lot of results with them on social media. So I was like, I mean, why don't I try to be like my own client? So this is where I started kind of testing the water at first, and I just basically started advertising for motivated sellers. So if you guys want to get started with wholesaling or fixing and flipping or even just buying rental properties, you need someone who wants to sell their house, right? Without that, that's your customer base, right? So what I started to do was I learned how to do all of that and got paid to do it, which was amazing. And then I started basically just saving every dollar I had, and then I would basically put it back into my own company that I was going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? And what this did is it helped me to get a better head start, because a lot of people, they don't have the cash to do this. And you know, it is a cash intensive business, but if you just want to wholesale, you still have to have money to market, or you're going to be picking up the phone and just doing cold calls the whole time.
Okay.
And that's what I did at first to get my first deal. I made about $12,000 on that one.
On a
wholesale deal. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of where I'm like starting to get to like that point where I'm like, okay, cool, like things are coming around.
And
right?
I'm sorry to ask you, I think this is important though. You were how old when you made the 12,000? Okay.
Yeah. So basically I'm like sitting there, I'm like, okay, cool, like I'm at the point, I'm starting to wholesale a little bit. I think I can do this like more. So I kind of started like spending less time on my marketing company, just kind of I wouldn't say neglecting it, but just not trying to acquire new people.
Yes.
So just really retaining and maintenance on the current clients I had.
Makes sense.
Because that's a good part about the agency model, is that you don't have to go get new clients if you don't want to,
right?
Because you have reoccurring business that's coming in. So I started then focusing a lot of my time just picking up the phone, and that's how I got my first deal, was just literally calling leads nonstop. And a lot of the time I do it from 4 to 7 because that's usually the best time to hit up sellers, because a lot of the times they're working. They have their typical jobs, and you know, they're working a 9 to 5 or whatever it might be.
So if you want to get into real estate and you're taking notes, that's a great point. 4 to 7 o'clock.
4 to 7 o'clock. Yeah, I mean around lunchtime too is a good time, but you know, I was meeting with clients or at lunches and stuff like that. So you know, started kind of scaling that up a little bit, and I thought the biggest thing, how I've always thought, is like more people hopefully equals more dollars. You know what I mean? If I threw more people in to help to go find deals. So what I did is I started partnering up with salespeople that were in wholesaling and basically doing a joint venture split instead.
That makes sense.
Because at this point I knew how to get leads, I knew how to build out the systems for it. So instead of me charging as a retainer, what I would do is I'd build it all out and I'd get an equity split in some of the deals that I would do. So I have a lot of like companies that I still do that with today, because instead of me having to only depend on what I can close, I can help to provide the value that I know I'm good at.
Yeah.
Right? Because I realized when I was first getting started, I'm not the best salesperson when it comes to acquisitions.
Okay.
You have to listen to these people very carefully, and a lot of the times, you know, it's not to say I'm bad by any means, but it's just that I know I have value somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, building the business instead of just being the salesperson.
Yeah.
Because all of my other companies, that was my downfall. If Kyle didn't go sell this month, no one's making any money. You know what I mean? So I was like, how do I go build out more salespeople? And that's kind of what progressively got me to do more deals in wholesaling.
Really?
Because it wasn't just me, you know what I mean? And I'd rather have a bigger pie, or a bigger overall pie and a smaller percentage of it, than have the whole pie to myself and not be able to do as much.
And do all the work.
Yeah, so this is where I started having kind of the mindset, hey, I need a team, I need people that are around me that are going to help to motivate me to that next level.
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot of these JV splits, and to be honest, a lot of that came from my own social media presence.
Yeah.
So just building that up, providing free value and content similar to what you're doing here, and just trying to share as much as I possibly can with people. You know, like TikTok was a great platform, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. The only platform I'm really not dominant at all on is, I would say, YouTube.
Okay.
I have like very little YouTube presence. I just don't post long form content all the time, to be honest.
It's tough to YouTube's a sport.
It is a sport. It's a lot of time into it. And I took Graham Stephan's course and all that good stuff. I just never fully went into it. I was too busy trying to, you know, do deals and stuff like that, you know? So I started wholesaling. My first year I did 12 deals. So
12 deals.
Yeah. So
average commission was anywhere between
about, like, I had some of them that were on the low end of like $3,000, and at the highest end I had 22.
And you were 20, 21?
21. Yeah, 21. It was mostly when we finished all those out.
Which is impressive for me because, you know, two things. One, you know, obviously if you're taking notes again, leveraging time. I love that part. Yeah. Leveraging time, duplicating yourself, and being able to automate, right, the process that maybe if you feel like you're also not good at, to someone else, delegating that work to sales, to someone else. And maybe if you don't have leadership skills like Kyle does, or the business skills like Kyle does, the culture skills like Kyle does, but you do have the sales skills, you may want to partner with someone that has the leadership, the business, the culture vision that you can bring onto your company as well. So I love that. And then second, you know, how many 20, 21, 19-year-olds are out there right now that are making $12,000 a year, bussing, serving tables, still in restaurant businesses, retail, right? Making $20,000, maybe $1,000 a year.
Yeah, it's rough.
And it's rough too, and you're absolutely right. And you know, they're doing it, I think, in part, mainly maybe because society and your parents, you know, people, friends, culture has told them that the way to do it is to go to school, get a job, have a job while you're going to school. And most people choose retail, most people choose restaurant business. But Kyle went to wholesaling. Yeah. Kyle went to wholesaling. He learned at 16, 21. He did 12 deals. That's crazy. Somewhere between 3,000 and you said
3,000 to 22,000.
To $22,000.
That was only one of them, though. Only one of them.
But still, dude. I mean, can you imagine making one phone call? The sales cycle is what? Maybe a month.
The sales cycle, it just depends. You know, I have a couple liens or properties that had like liens on them or different things that took like 6 months to close out. You know what I mean? Because you're dealing with a lot of like title issues, and that's one of the big problems that like a lot of people, you know, they start getting into this, and a lot of the deals fall out of contract. I've had way more under contract than 12 actually all the way close out, because a lot of the time you lock it up maybe at the wrong price, right? So you locked it up way too high, and you reach out to your cash buyers and they go, nope, I ain't buying that. No one's wanting to touch your deal, and you're like, all right, well, I got to cancel on the seller or try to get a price drop, because no one wants this deal unless they can get it at a certain price. Because it's just a math game, right? Yeah. You know, if you can go make money on the deal, do the deal. If you can't go make money on the deal, don't do the deal, right? It's like that's what I love about real estate. It's a pretty simple business, you know. There's not too much that goes into it. I mean, there's a lot of like legality and stuff like that, but you lean on people for that.
Yes.
You know, I'm not sitting here like, you know, oh, I'm the attorney, I'm the best person I know. I have no legal advice on how I can give and provide that for people. But I've been versed by being able to talk with people that do know that.
Yeah, that learning phase.
Yeah, so I started at the beginning of this year, starting to fix and flip, because there was a couple deals that I wholesaled, and I probably gave away about a 6-figure check for a couple of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you were wholesaling.
Yeah, because I was wholesaling them, because I didn't trust myself. I don't have a construction background. I don't know anything about that type of stuff, right? And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna wholesale quick money. I'm literally, for wholesaling, I get a contract locked up. It's basically I'm selling a piece of paper. Yeah. So I'm literally just moving the piece of paper to someone else. I don't touch the property, I don't do anything. So I was like, I kind of like that. I'm a digital guy, right? So I was like, I don't know if I want to fix and flip properties. Then I saw how much money I was leaving on the table. And I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this. So I took basically a lot of the wholesale money that I had, that I saved up. Obviously, I was pouring back into the business, lead gen funnels, and all that good stuff. But then I took the amount that I had, was about $60,000 or so, and I decided to do my first fix and flip at the beginning of this year.
At the beginning.
Yeah, so because I was just like, I know I can do one. I just like need to make sure it's the right deal. Because I was like super anal about it, you know, because I was like, this is my money on the line. I don't want to lose my own money. I mean, obviously no one does.
No one does, right?
But I was like, I need to make sure that like this goes like 100% smoothly.
Yep.
So knock on some wood, we're under contract on that property. It took a little bit longer than expected. We had some delays and all that good stuff, but I'll probably net about like 60 grand on that deal.
Nice, dude.
You know, so you essentially, and I'll get back all of my original investments plus the rehab and all that good stuff, and be able to do it again and again and again. So that's kind of what I really like about that model. And then, you know, I've been starting to look at rental properties too. So you've seen some of my fourplex that we fully gutted a whole fourplex that I got on a creative finance note. And essentially this is one of the structures that I wish I would have learned sooner, to be honest. Because, you know, when you're first getting started, I mean, when I did that first fix and flip, I ran out of money right out instantly. So I had no other choice but to wholesale, right? But when I did this creative note, what I was able to do is I was able to acquire a property for a deeply discounted price and have the seller basically finance everything other than the rehab, right? Because I had to just put on, so this property is worth about $650,000, right? When it's all fixed up. I bought it for $455,000. So you can see I already have a pretty big margin already in there. I had to put down 20%, or not 20%, 20 grand, which comes out to 3%. Okay. Right? So it's like super good terms. Yeah. You know, my interest rate on it is about 6%, so not the best, especially with where interest rates are today at around like 3.5 or so, 3 to 3.5. But when I started doing it, it required me not to have as much down. Because a traditional bank, if I would have bought that fourplex, would have gone, you need 20% down. Oh, wow. So now I'm putting down $120,000, plus I have 100 grand rehab. Yeah. So it's like, now I'm 200 grand deep, and you can see why that spread is not good anymore. But with this, it's like that seller note, I'm able to get basically instant value out of the property, rehab it, increase rents. The rents on that property are going from $550 to $1,300.
Wow, dude, $550 to $1,350?
Yeah. So the reason is because that seller essentially wasn't, you know, they weren't increasing their rents. They had a lot of their tenants that were in there, and they just kept it at the same. Because if you guys look at an amortization schedule, the interest payments after a couple years, you know, after you're past like that 15-year mark, go down dramatically. You know, so a lot of the times you're just getting straight principal. Yeah. So your payments start going down, and these landlords were just really nice, and they didn't end up increasing the rents at all when they could have. Also, the property wasn't in the best condition. They didn't actually reinvest a lot of that in. I think they were just more living off the cash flow. So that's one thing, is always make sure if you guys buy a rental property, put some away for maintenance. Because now she had all this deferred maintenance. She was in no option to go sell it other than to an investor. You know what I mean? The property needed $100,000 worth of work. No typical retail investor is going to touch that. You know what I mean? So you have to have someone who's a little bit sophisticated. And then I also offered him a deal where she's going to still make her monthly cash flow for the next 2 years, instead of me going to pay Chase or Bank of America or any of these big companies. I'd rather pay someone here at my local market. So I kind of just explained that to her, you know, and because a lot of the times, you know, I always thought like, oh, if you do a seller note, like it's bad for the seller, right? But in a lot of cases, it's actually very beneficial for the seller. These people are in their 80s, right? You know, they kind of live off Social Security. I believe he has a pension too,
Okay.
and then that's pretty much it. Right?
Yeah.
And then also this rental.
The
property.
rental was, yeah.
So now it's like, well, hey, if they lose their $2,000 a month that they're cash flowing off that property, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's some good money for these people that are retired.
Right.
So I basically created a way that I could still pay them that $2,000 and also own the property and have it all that good stuff. So if you kind of asked me a question, what was something I wish I would have learned sooner? It was creative financing.
Really?
Because essentially you're structuring a deal with them, and this can allow you to beat a lot of the traditional terms out there. Because, you know, when I go to a lender, even if it's a hard money lender that we do our fix and flips with, he wants me to have 15 to 20% down. So it's a substantial amount of money that I have to put down in each of these. It's the skin in the game, right? So if I lose my ass on this property and I have to turn it back to him, guess what? I lost that 15 to 20% plus whatever rehab I put into the property too. So with this, I essentially can get down with little to no down payment. There's definitely deals that I haven't personally done, but people I know who've done deals where they've put zero down and they just pay them the rent, right?
Yes.
And then now they've created this huge spread. They get the deal at a discount, and now they're able to do more deals that way. And I wish I would have learned that sooner. I went to a conference, one of my clients, this is when I was doing like the marketing stuff, took me to a conference. I had no idea. He calls me up. He's out in Ohio because I started doing a lot of stuff virtually all over the place. And he calls me up. He's like, hey, dude, like I'm going to Santa Ana. How far away is that from Tucson? When I was living down in Tucson, I was like, I don't know, like 6 hours or so. So he's like, you want to come to this like real estate conference with me? I was like, sure, why not? Like,
drove.
Yeah, drove out there, and I was thinking I was just gonna go sell my marketing services to all these people, and he was gonna be like my testimonial since he was my client. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, dude, like you're way too smart. Like you need to learn how to invest in real estate. Those 2 days, I literally only learned about creative notes, creating passive income, buying properties with none of your own money, all that good stuff. And I was like, this is wild, but I didn't think I could do it at the time.
Yes.
You know, this was I was like 19 years old, so I wasn't at that point where I was wholesaling yet. I always thought about it, but I didn't have like the balls to just do it. So if I could go back in time, I wish I would have just sent it earlier, because that would have allowed me to, I think, get a lot more deals.
Yes.
Especially before this huge run up that happened over like the last year or two.
In real estate, the whole market.
Yeah, the whole market. Yeah. So I mean, like even if I would have just picked up one rental property, I mean, in Phoenix alone, we've seen an amazing amount of appreciation in this last year to year and a half.
Right. So first of all, if you want to work with Kyle or if you want to learn from Kyle, reach out to him below. Yeah,
of course. You guys can reach out to me. I'm a pretty open book. So if you guys want to book a call, you guys can actually go to a link, basically just kyleallen.us/book, and then they can book up like a 30-minute call with me, hop on and talk. I always do this with people because that's what people did with me when I got started. They you know, obviously within reason, you know, it's not like I was asking for like 3 hours of their time. I was like, hey, just give me 15 minutes. I want to like ask you a couple questions.
Right.
And you know, that kind of helped me to essentially learn a lot about it. So I've always been, have you ever heard like Jim Quick say this at all?
Jim Quick?
Yeah, so you learn to earn to return.
Okay.
And I love that saying. I live by it every single day because I think that's one of the best ways that I'm able to share also my experience with people and learn more from that.
Yes, of course, dude. I love that because my mission, right, is to be the leading authority for Generation Z. Those that are somewhere between the ages of 16, like when you got first started, to somewhere between 23 and 25. That's the cutoff. The 25, which is where I'm at, and older now are millennials. So right now we have the ability to inspire those that are coming up. And if you're watching this and you're just starting out again, and you wanted to get into real estate and you don't know a lot of the terms or you've heard of them before, listen to what Kyle just said. He said that you can literally go into seller financing and get properties. Even now, depending on if your parents have money, if you know your uncle has money, and you find a good enough deal and you have enough confidence in the business maturity that we've talked about here on this podcast in the past, to be able to make that happen. So I would encourage you again to jump on the phone if you want to get into real estate with Kyle. I think it's a huge opportunity for you. I love real estate myself. I love the fact that you're doing it because it just gets me excited and stuff. So again, man, if you were to go back, seller financing is one thing. Hiring people, if you think hiring the right people?
I think hiring the right people and also building a company that could scale up with people. You know what I mean? Like I was always dealing with such tight margins with a lot of this stuff. The agency model was tighter margins, especially when you start hiring on people. Especially if you set up like with an agency where you're like basically using them as the back end. I did that with a handful of different services, and now your margins are super tight. So with real estate, because you're dealing with these hundreds of $1,000 properties, the margins, you can work with the margins, and you can have a lot of people inside of these companies. By no means saying that you can't go scale an agency. I know plenty of people that have and all that good stuff. It wasn't something that I was also passionate about too. You know, I always knew it was going to help me to get to the point where I was doing my own deals.
Right, exactly. That makes sense. And that's the same thing for me. I mean, you know, if I were to go back and myself, you know, I'd probably start buying real estate a little bit sooner. I love 100%. Apartment complexes. Yeah. But, you know, the main reason that I was, you know, what I was doing before this was to create myself enough savings to go invest into real estate. So, you know, being in the beginning, I think especially, not later off or when you have the skill set to get into business, but being like as if, and this is the beginning again, almost as if it's the Great Depression. Like you're so tight with your money, you're saving on every single dime. You know, you're not going to restaurants, you're not going out to movie theaters, you're not going out to spend money, but you're doing everything that you can from the money that you make to save it. In the beginning for me, it was like bills, groceries, gas. I was living at home. Everything else that I made, 6 figures wise,
put it back.
Went into savings. Like every single penny, to where now, right, I have the ability, but I don't have the know-how, which is why Kyle's in my life, right? So that we can start doing some deals here together here very soon. I guess my next question for you, because I always talk about leadership too. I think it's so important. And maturity and self-confidence. I think that, and from what I've heard, a lot of that has come from the learning side of you, wanting to get to learn, surrounding yourself with people, and being in like a room where you can learn that and then build that muscle, which is what I call it, of self-confidence over time. So how can you build that muscle faster? How can you build self-confidence, and you know, how can you become better?
100%. And I want to just touch on one thing that you said. Save as much as you possibly can. I don't know how many times I have to preach that to people because they want to go spend it on stupid stuff as soon as they start making some money. I was a cheap ass. I still am a cheap ass. This shirt is probably like, you know, like 7 years old or something like that.
That's awesome.
Kid you not. Yeah, it just, I love doing stuff like that because it saves money and I can go put it back into things that pay me instead.
Yes.
So to answer your question about being around people with like basically mentoring me on how to be a better leader, I found out a lot about what I don't want inside of leadership because I was around a lot of organizations. So I would go inside of these organizations and see a lot of different people and how they interacted with each other. And you could tell a good leader from a bad leader within almost about 5 minutes of being inside of the organization. Because you know how the people act and how they respond to some of the things that they say. And I always saw the people that were not good leaders were the people that snapped at people, right? That were like, you need to get this done now, and they would almost yell and kind of come from like the fear kind of stance. I don't know, you probably know what I'm talking about, seeing some stuff like that. And for me, that's not how I want to lead. And some of the people that I saw that led very successful organizations, they didn't lead from that. They led from passion. They understood each of their employees and how they reacted and really got to know them on a personal level. And I think that's something that I've been really working on, and I'm still not perfect by any means. I still want to snap sometimes, especially when bad shit happens. It's just natural. But at the end of the day, I try to like really assess back and go, okay, let's take a look at it from like a different point of stance and just understand what the heck is going on in the situation and what we can do to fix it. Because me yelling or doing anything like that is also not going to help the situation. If anything, it's going to make it worse.
Right.
So trying to figure out and come from a different standpoint, I would say the best thing that I ever did was just be around more people, because that helped me to learn. Because I saw the people that were leading from fear, saw the people that were leading from the front. I saw leaders just didn't care either. I was like, there's always 3 different types of like levels of stuff, right? You have you have like the very bad side, you have the side that lives in the middle, which most situations are in there, and then you have on the very opposite end, right, you have some really good leaders. And just being around those, you get to see real fast who is in what situation and what bucket you put them in.
I like that, dude. So do you advise like going up to successful people that get out of like the cars that maybe you'd want to drive in the beginning? I mean, if you're into finance or if you want to make money out there?
Yeah, so I've personally never approached someone out of
their car. Really?
You've
never done that?
No, I've never approached someone out of their car before. I've always approached them usually in their office building.
And they're, dang, you go right to their home, dude.
So I would go to a lot of their offices, or I would find them on LinkedIn and connect with them on social media and reach out that way. Yeah. So those were just some of the ways that I decided to get started. Because I knew, like, you know, because you could kind of tell, like, inside of real estate offices, too, like, who kind of has the top dog position, because they usually have their own office. Yeah, and that's in a lot of situations, too. But I always wanted to be around those. And also the cool part about real estate is you can see who's a top player by sales data too, right? Because everything is public. How many deals they sold, all that good stuff if you're a real estate agent, right? On the investing side, I'm not an agent myself. There's nothing to keep track of that.
Do you advise people getting on like agents buying or lists for buying criteria?
Yeah, we connect with a lot of different agents to basically kind of show them what we're looking for, so that way these people can go find some properties for us.
Is there like a rule of thumb how many agents to ask or how many
as many as you can do?
As many.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously within reason, you're not going to want to be on like 1,000 lists, because you're just going to get a bunch of spam essentially.
Yeah.
But you want to try to be very particular on the agents you do want to work with, instead of going through some things where you're like, oh, I'll buy anything.
Yeah.
Right? Now they're going to send you fucking everything under the sun because that's how they get paid.
Right.
So I'm very strict on the criteria that I'm looking for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they have to essentially run numbers on some stuff, and I teach them on how to do that too. And go, hey, is there spread inside of here, or is there no spread and I'm gonna lose my ass?
Okay.
So that's kind of how I share with them what I'm looking for, just by simply running comps in the area and go, okay, this house sold for $350,000 last week, and this one is selling for $250,000, and it's the same house, right? Basically. Yeah. Well, I want to buy that $250,000 house because if I go throw 50 into it, hopefully I can get 30 or 40 out of it.
Right. Next question is the deal that you did this year for flip. How many deals did you have to look at to find that one deal?
Probably about
100.
I would say over 100.
Over 100 deals.
Yeah,
I love
I'd say
that.
Over 100, especially the market has been super saturated. So I probably looked close to I'd say 250, 300 deals before I did that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
250 deals before you find one deal.
So
I like that. I agree with you.
Not all these deals I went in person either, though, right? Yeah. On the ones, so basically how I do it is it's my underwriting process. So what I'll do is I'll look at it, because especially with technology today, I can look at all the photos, I can run some comps real fast, and then I'll run all of the numbers basically on my P&L statement that I have. And if it meets my criteria, I'll go out to the property and go see it. If it doesn't meet my criteria, I'm not going to waste my time driving out there. I'm not going to waste anyone else's time. I'm just going to pass and just move on to the next one. So you have to run a lot of numbers on all these deals before, because then I have to put in so many offers too before one of those offers gets accepted. There's plenty of other houses before that first one I put in offers in, they just didn't get accepted.
And if you want that P&L sheet, Kyle sells it.
They do sell it, yeah.
So if you want that sheet that Kyle, the master P&L sheet, the master buying criteria sheet, then go to the book call again with Kyle.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So the reason why I did that, because so many people were asking me about it. Because I actually built that myself, because I was looking at so many deals and I would just work out the math on a note sheet.
Yes.
And it just takes so much more time. Instead, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to build out something. I'm a big systems guy.
Yes.
So built out a system to basically underwrite deals within 5 minutes. And that helped me out dramatically to do that, to see, do I have one or am I wasting my time?
Right. So I wanted to bring Kyle on here, man. It's an entrepreneur through and through, from 16 years old to putting signs out.
Yeah.
And learning from, people that he saw that wanted to be like. And so that's why, like I said, these are honest conversations with entrepreneurs. When I was 16 years old personally, I wasn't doing that. I didn't realize this whole train of you can actually make your dreams a reality until I turned 18 years old. Yeah. My first sales job was wholesaling. That was my first sales job.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, my first sales job was wholesaling and stuff. And so once I got into that, because I knew I wanted to do real estate, because I remember that, and this is going back to what I said earlier, going up to successful people. I did that with 10 people. I remember I counted 10 cars, 10 people that got out. They looked happy. They looked, fluent, abundant. They had their families, their wife, maybe their significant other, or their children with them. And I just went up to them and I was like, what do you do?
Yeah, I love that.
And I was polite, respectful, and told them my name, value, characteristics after they asked me. And then one person gave me a job in wholesaling.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I got my first wholesaling.
What type of car was he driving? You don't mind.
He was driving a Porsche. It was in 2000, and I don't know, a few years ago. However that.
So it was a nice Porsche, and you saw this guy, and you're like, dude, I want to drive a Porsche.
Brand new, detailed, just got out of the car. And went up to him, like I said, and he introduced me, got into wholesaling, and that was my first job. That's how I took off in my career in sales, dude. But
so the grind then. It's a freaking grind to make those calls, especially if that's what you're doing when you first get started, where a lot of people start door knocking, doing cold calls, or hopefully you're lucky and you have someone that's giving you some warm leads that are coming from a website or something like that. But
I wholesale for 6 months, and all I did was cold call. Never did any door knocking. Should have done that, but I also had 3 other jobs at the time, or two. I should say 2 other jobs, because that was my third, and going to school full time, and I was fat, overweight, and had to lose weight too. So definitely know the grind, man. Woke up plenty of times at 3:30 in the morning myself to go into 11 p.m. and then wake up the next day to go to the gym and do it again. So again, Kyle's an honest person. You can see it through and through in his heart. A lot of people feel the same way in our circle. Again, that's why I wanted to bring him on here. He's someone that, if he's not at 7 figures already, which he's probably very close in the amount of deals that he's done, he's bought and looked at and wholesaled in terms of value, millions of dollars in real estate. So I can say confidently that by the time that he's maybe even 30 years old, right, that he's going to be where he wants to be. And that's my next and last and final question is, what do you see for your life? What's the vision for you? Who do you want to impact? And what are the goals?
Yeah, so one of my biggest goals, and this has been a goal for a while of mine, is $1 billion under assets under management.
$1 billion, dude.
Yeah, so I want to eventually start moving into some more multifamily stuff, especially after I did my first fourplex. It just showed me that the scale that you can go, and how much more that you can do that, especially with holding on to some of these properties. Because a lot of people, the fix and flip game is cool, but it's like as soon as I sell that property, cool, I got to go move that money into the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's a great way to build up capital, but it's not a great way to build wealth, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense to me.
So what I want to do is essentially start building up more capital from the wholesaling business to throw into rentals, apartments, and all that good stuff.
Would you say it's like musical chairs?
Yes.
Flipping, right? Because you never know when it's going to stop, right?
Yeah.
You never know when the music is going to end, and you've got 3 properties, that you own, and then no one's buying them, right? That's what we saw in 2008. So apartment complexes, right? I love that. But 4 units, that's the cutoff. I mean, but listeners too, where it turns from residential to commercial. And with 4 units like you have, you're able to do, really the seller financing deal, and you can do that still with 5 units or more.
100%.
But for the people listening, you can right now do 4 units with a motivated seller, someone that's retired. There's deals in your city right now.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Whether you door knock to find them, whether you work for a company to find them, whether you put out signs in the beginning to go find them, but there's deals right now where you can put down 0 to 3% on a 4-unit, $650,000 property. But I love real estate, and I always ask people, because they ask me, what do you want to do, stocks or real estate? When I say this question or this statement is, when you buy $100,000 in stocks, how much stock do you get?
You get $100,000.
When you buy when you take $100,000 and you put it into real estate, you can potentially buy
$400,000
or more if
you're doing, if you do it right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So that's huge, right? You can the leverage part, and so again, if you're just starting out, like I said, Kyle is someone that knows real estate. Get in a circle, surround yourself with successful people. What content are you watching every day? Are you watching content that literally puts you a step behind? There's even content that puts you lateral, right? Whether that's, music that you're listening to on a daily basis, and it's not, whether podcasts like this, videos on YouTube from real estate people or people that you want to be like in general, like someone that has already achieved what you've done. So how submersed are you, right? In your podcasts, in your content, in your vision and stuff. And so, like I said, that's why you want to, if you're watching this, have a life-changing moment right now. Right now, get off of this and run into a wall. I hope you're motivated. I hope you're listening to this fired up and stuff. So any last points that you could give the young people out there or anyone out there that wants to do something great?
Spend money on yourself to develop. I've spent so much money going on programs, training,
courses,
personal development courses. And I don't even sell a course, but that's what the biggest thing that has ever helped me, because you can, it sounds cheesy, it's paying for speed, right? When I did my agency, I took a course on how to build out my agency. I took about 5 of them before I found one that really helped me scale. And that took my agency dramatically to the next level, where I was making not, just $10,000 maybe a month. I was making $30,000, $40,000 a month off of that agency, because there's a process, there's a system, there's a thing in place. And that's the same thing with when I started wholesaling. I paid for education. I paid for someone to teach me how to do it, right? Because I knew I wasn't the best salesperson, but I knew I had to prove the concept of selling, right? Because I knew I had to translate it to someone, right? I had to have some experience before it's just oh no, I'll just do all this part and you just make the calls, right? I think every entrepreneur should know everything inside of the business, right? You might not be the expert that someone else is inside of your business, but you should still know how to do it, right? And so what I would recommend, pay for education, pay to get around good people, go network as much as you possibly can, and don't be afraid of failure, because I have fell flat on my face so many times where I'm just like, fuck, like I'm stuck in a position, I need to figure out how to do something, and something always comes through that will change your life. If you continue to put in effort. But if you just sit on your couch, you roll up into a ball, you watch TV and you just give up, nothing good will ever happen to you. I promise you that. If you keep hustling, people will believe in you and want to help you.
So, paying for speed. I brought someone else on here, Lucas. You know who he is because you're partners with him in the real estate business. But Lucas said the same thing. He worked with Dean Graziosi. He's one of the few people that I know that sat down in little small offices with him, 3 to 5 people, and learned from him. And he said the biggest thing that he learned from Dean Graziosi was paying for speed. So 100%. I love that he said that. And what we talked about was paying for speed doesn't just mean one thing, but it means systems, it means technology, maybe faster Wi-Fi, hiring people, paying for courses, coaching, consulting on yourself, because it makes you better, faster, 100% stronger, and gets you to the 7-figure mark. So, you know, what it takes to get to 6 figures and what it takes to get to 7 figures are 2 totally different things. Same thing with 8, 9, and 10. Like, there's levels to this stuff. So.
There are levels, and just to get to 6 figures, if any of you guys haven't gotten there yet, just fucking hustle. Like, that's like legitimately like the easiest way to get to 6 figures. Hustle your ass off. I haven't gotten to 7 figures yet, but to get there, what I've been learning is, hey, you got to have systems in place. You got to have team members, because you're not going to be able to just do it by yourself.
Yeah, you go from the trumpet player in the orchestra to the maestro conducting the organization. And then you have the 8-figure people that have and own the orchestra.
Exactly. They own the building.
They own the building. Tony Robbins, I mean, he's got, 30-something companies, but he's not involved in all of them. He might have a piece or a finger in it, but he's got leaders, he's got systems, he's got managers, he's got culture that's already set in place because he's Tony Robbins and stuff.
100%.
So thank you, Kyle, so much sincerely for being on here.
Perfect.
Today was a great episode, man, and I'm so excited for more stuff that we're going to do here in the future.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate you guys for having us on here. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. And if you guys haven't checked out more of his podcast, make sure to check him out. Yes. He brings on some of the best people. These are all people I'm around too as well, and I love hearing some of their stories, and I'm glad that I was able to share mine today.
Yeah, man. So thank you, Kyle, again. Y'all take care.
Perfect.